Hello students, you're welcome back to class. Last class we discussed types of poetry, but in today's class we shall be discussing poetic devices. Poetic devices can be likened to the tools used by farmers or fishermen to achieve or carry out their work. Poetic devices refers to the techniques or materials that poets use to achieve their aim, that is, the tools used by poets to convey their feelings, emotions, ideas, and imaginations to the readers. There are several poetic devices, but in today's class we shall be discussing figures of speech. A figure of speech is a word or phrase that possesses a separate meaning from the literal meaning. This means that a word or phrase is used to create another effect, that is, it is used to refer to another meaning than its normal meaning. There are several figures of speech. We have simile, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia, alliteration, oxymoron, euphemism, irony, hyperbole, and so on and so forth. In today's class, we shall be discussing on the following figures of speech: simile, metaphor, personification, euphemism, oxymoron, and onomatopoeia. Simile is a figure of speech that compares two different things that have similar characteristics using as and like. This refers to the comparison between two things that are of different nature but have some things in common. Examples: Paul is as dirty as a pig. Now, talking about two different nature here, Paul is a human, pig is an animal. So they are both two different things in nature, but they have a characteristic or a similarity or a quality in common, which is dirtiness. So, and it uses what? As and like. Other example: Martha is like a palm tree. Now we are comparing the height of Martha to that of a palm tree. So the characteristics here is the height. Dare is as proud as a peacock. Dare is as proud as a peacock. So these are examples of simile. Metaphor is also a comparative figure of speech. It compares two different things without the use of as and like. Metaphor states that one thing is another thing in comparison. Example: the city is a jungle. Now we are comparing the city, that is, the city is not in order, and that is why it is being compared to a jungle. Second example: the mind is an ocean. Here, the mind is compared to an ocean, talking about the vastness, that is the wideness of the mind. So we are comparing the wideness of the mind to that of an ocean. Third example, we have Paul is a pig. Now you can see that this is also a comparison, but now without the use of as and like. Paul is still being compared to a pig because of the dirtiness that he possesses. These are examples of metaphor. Personification is a figure of speech that gives human attributes to inanimate objects. When the abilities of human being is given to something else, to non-living thing or inhuman, that is, objects or things that are not human beings. That is what we call personification. Example: the trees danced in the wind. When we're talking about dancing is a characteristic or an attribute of a human being, but now it is being given to a tree. And other examples: the thunder yelled at us. Only human beings have the capacity of yelling at somebody or something, but now the thunder is given this attribute. Death lay his hand on the king. Death is not human, it's not even physical. Nobody can see death. But it is said that death lay hands on the king. Time waits for no one. Lastly, my alarm clock yells at me to get out of bed every morning. These are examples of personification. Euphemism is a figure of speech that tries to present an unpleasant situation in a pleasant way. Example, Grace has been put in the family way. Now, Grace has been impregnated, and instead of saying it that way, we can say it in a lighter way, which is Grace has been put in the family way. Other examples are Kunle is a gentleman of the road. This refers to Kunle as what? An armed robber. The king has kicked the bucket. Instead of saying the king is dead, say the king has kicked the bucket. John is under the weather. Instead of saying John is sick, say John is under the weather. Can I use the restroom, please? Instead of saying can I use the toilet? Toilets sounds offensive somehow, but when you say the restroom, it sounds pleasant. So these are examples of euphemism. Oxymoron is a figure of speech that places two opposing words side by side in a sentence or in a phrase. When you put two different words, like when you put white and black side by side in a sentence, sweet and bitter in a sentence together, is what we refer to as oxymoron. Example, she had a bittersweet experience. You can imagine bittersweet. These words are two opposing words. Victor's grandmother is so sick, she is now a living dead. The living is not supposed to be dead, while the dead is not supposed to be living. So placing these two side by side is what we call or refer to as oxymoron. The thief showed cruel kindness. Tunde's relationship with Bola is an open secret. Jack is an honest thief. So you see, all of these examples are examples of oxymoron. And lastly, Anamatopia is a figure of speech which is also known as a sound device. That is, it is used to introduce sound in a literary work. Onomatopoeia refers to words that indicate or reflect sound produced or pronounced by a particular thing. Examples: boom, shh, wow, whoosh. These are words, but when pronounced, gives what produces sound. Now let's look at examples of this figure of speech. Tick-tock of a clock. Tick-tock. Now the word tick-tock, the sound produced by a clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Now example 2. The car splashed water on me. The word splashed, splashed, splashed. It's a word, but it produces what? The sound. Now another one is ding dong goes the doorbell. Ding dong. Now the word ding dong is an onomatopoeia because it produces the sound of a bell. Lastly, the example, the car zoomed off. Zoomed off. The word zoom reflects the sound made by a car. So these are some of the figures of speech that can be used as devices in poetry. Hope you have learned so much about these figures of speech and can easily identify them and can use them in writing poems. Thank you for listening. See you in the next class. Bye.